Hi guys, this week we're concentrating on what you do, and the component of the success path that we are focusing on improving is simplifying your life. And you know, this is important because the busier, the more overloaded and the more complex our lives become, the harder it becomes to achieve well-being, which is what I'm all about, as you know. And this is profoundly evident in the absolute explosion of lifestyle-related diseases. You know, this includes both our physical health, including an increased prevalence of things like cancer and obesity, as well as our mental health and well-being, and includes an increase in prevalence of things like anxiety and depression. You know, all of which have increased steadily as our lives have become less simple. And besides the best intentions of science and technology to make our life simpler and more enjoyable, you know, this hardly seems to be the case. Just speak to most people and they will tell you that life was once much less stressful than it is today. This was when we didn't have all of the things which we apparently can't live without today, including things like computers, mobile phones, pay TV, and all the rest of it. So all of this begs the question, what is a simple life? Well, it's not about being unbusy, unengaged, inactive, quiet, or having an idle life as such. Instead, a simple life can be defined as a life which does not cause you high amounts of stress and overload. A life in which you live largely in the present moment. A life where you find purpose and meaning in the simplest of things. A life without drama and overwhelm. A simple life is a more holistic and more conscious life, where despite still having challenges, everything works. A life which you feel a deep sense of inner peace, harmony and content from not having to be, do or have anything else. A life in which you need less, use less. A life where instead of having lots of unnecessary stuff, you place more importance on the things that truly matter, such as your physical and emotional health and well-being, including fostering quality relationships in your life. And it's about having the time to enjoy all of this too. And the good news is that we can all achieve a simple life simply by watching what you chew, doing what you need to do, and always living true. You will simplify and live your best life. Now, there are lots of simple and effective things you can do to simplify your life, such as, you know, deactivating your social media and getting your meal prepping routine down pat. But for now, I want to talk about what I think is the most important of all of the things you can do to simplify your life, because it's something that ties into the real essence behind everything, really. And that is to focus your attention on attaining inner peace instead of chasing happiness in external pursuits, the latter of which almost certainly results in anything but a simple life. And just to clarify, having inner peace doesn't necessarily mean that you are free from the hardships of life, as well as the day-to-day challenges, but rather that despite what life throws at you, you're still calm in your heart. Ultimately, true inner peace emanates from your realization that you are one with everything else on this planet. If you don't have inner peace, then don't worry. With enough self-development work, you can find it. And this is so important because without inner peace, it is not possible to ever be happy. Excuse me. Something which we all desire, but don't all find. Often it is this preconceived idea of searching for happiness which makes it ever elusive. This is because happiness is not something that can be found through doing anything, but rather something that must come from within. If you require material things to be happy, then you never really will be, because at any given moment, these things can be taken away from you. Life is very dynamic and always changing, and nothing lasts forever, except for who you are, your consciousness. In fact, no matter how perfect your life may seem right now, it's only a matter of time before some of those who are dear to you may become ill or even pass over. Similarly, everything you could own could be wiped out in the blink of an eye by a natural disaster, or you could get bankrupt, or anything else could happen. Therefore, if you can be happy from within instead of for external reasons, then you have found happiness, the natural state of consciousness that already exists within you. A state of existence that has nothing to do with the acquisition of possessions, other people, external events, or any situation. And so in this way, it is only through your forgetfulness of being of your true self, the core essence of who you are, that you may have lost your sense of inner peace and happiness. Therefore, if you can relate to this, then instead of trying to find happiness, you need to be that happiness. And you know what? It will take time. I have a saying, and that is that you can't be happy if you don't have inner peace. At the same time, you can't have inner peace unless you live in the present moment. And you can't live in the present moment fully until you tune in and connect with your true self. In other words, a connection to source, or who you are, is the happiness that we are all striving for, despite any false suggestions that different things make different people happy. This is because it is only through a connection to source that you can ever really feel safe, secure, and loved, all of which are paramount to happiness. So what has having inner peace and true happiness got to do with simplifying your life? Well, Marcus Tullius Cicero once said, "To be content with what we possess is the greatest and most secure of riches." In other words, by becoming whole once again and beginning to cultivate a deep sense of inner peace and happiness in your life, what you are essentially doing is becoming content, meaning that you are grateful, happy, and accepting of the present moment just as it is. And it is here in which the secret to living a simple life lies. And that is that the more content you are with your life and or the present moment, the less you desire from the external world to satisfy you. You come to understand that what you really need to fulfill yourself has nothing to do with the external. And in doing so, you begin to move from a place of attachment to a place of detachment, and so free yourself from having to be, do, or have anything in particular. Don't get me wrong, it's okay and even natural to desire things in life, but it's not okay to let these things define who you are and therefore rule your life. And it is only through doing this that you will, by nature, find yourself desiring to live a much simpler life than the one you have most likely been living. And it is only by doing that that you can really begin to free yourself from most of the stress caused by chasing all things external. It is in this way that you no longer feel the sense to work ridiculous hours just to grow a portfolio and spend up big. Instead of placing unreasonable demands on the world's resources to fulfill you and make you happy, you instead begin to become grateful for things just as they are without having to own them. And so I'm telling you this because a huge part of living a simpler life is to become content with who you are and grateful for all that you already have in your life and in this very moment. I really cannot emphasize this enough. Being content is the same vibration as being grateful or appreciative of what you have. And it is by doing so that you are able to find true joy and happiness in what many may be regarded as, seemingly simple or unremarkable things. In this way, everything that you experience in life becomes significant and you become so much more appreciative of it all. It is true that the simple things in life really are the best, and more often than not, they are free. And these include things like seeing the beauty in a flower, enjoying the light show of a storm, and spending time within your community or with family and friends. Then there are things such as giving someone a hug, helping others, sharing great stories around a table and or a great meal together, or just kicking the footy. Giving a smile, making a nice comment, going for a bushwalk, spending time in nature, or doing some aspiring work of art, or anything creative for that matter. I am by no means wealthy, but I believe that I am very rich. For one, I have perfect health, and for that I'm truly thankful. I also have a beautiful family, great friends. I love my pets and they love me. I also get to spend a lot of time out in nature, in the beach, bushwalking, cycling, whatever. Grow my own veggies, fruit and veggies. But above and beyond all this, I have peace within my heart, which means I always feel happy and content despite anything that's going on in my life or anyone else's around me. Sure, many of my friends and other people I know have many more possessions than me. You know what? Few of them are really peaceful within. And having peace within is something that cannot be bought. And so I don't care how much money you have, how many certificates you've acquired, where you live or what car you drive. Instead, what I care about is that you have a healthy mind and body, that you are happy and truly at peace with yourself, that you have enough energy to get through the day and have great relationships with your family and friends, that you spend enough time with your kids, both on a personal and educational level, that you sleep well at night and have enough leisure time to relax, unwind and do the things that you love in life, that you live to work and not work to live, that you enjoy all of the wonderful foods that life has to offer along with its seasons, and the experience love in your life. These are the simple things that I care about, and so should you. And the more consciously you live, the more appreciative you become, and the more you begin to realize this. You feel this way because you become more grateful, content and happy with what you have in this moment instead of always wanting. So whether it be the fostering of good relationships with family or friends, enjoying a meal together or simply enjoying nature, these are the things in life that truly matter beyond all else. The key is to return to the basics and live a simpler life by being more grateful for what you have and by living within your means. Try to become increasingly grateful for all that you do have right here in this moment right now, as opposed to what you don't have. Instead of being busy trying to build your portfolio of property investments while the other 2/3 of the world's population struggles just to survive each day, try to quench your desire for more by living a more grounded, connected and conscious life. Realize that although money and material things can make life easier in some ways, they definitely won't make you internally happy. In fact, longing for material things can actually buy you stress and act as a happiness suppressant. You only have to look at the increased prevalence of lifestyle related diseases such as obesity over the last 30 years to realize the importance of this. The busier, more overloaded and more complex our lives become, the harder it becomes to achieve well-being. But when you begin to simplify your life, you start to find a time to enjoy all of the things you never had the time for. If you don't agree about living a more simple life, then that is fine. There is nothing wrong with living a busy life if that's what you enjoy. But my question to you is, at what cost do you make this choice? In the end, something has to give, and for most people today, the first thing to deteriorate is their health. And we can see that through the stats. Therefore, if you want to get into your best shape, both physically and mentally, in whatever way that means to you, then it's really essential that you begin living a more simplified life. Also, it's important to acknowledge that when I suggest that you embrace a more simple life, I'm not implying that you have to renounce all of your possessions, nor am I implying that you ditch technology. I've often met people, many have been also who have been on a spiritual path, who strongly believe that they don't need anything which society says they do. And in rebellion against this, they will possibly, at some stage in their lives, attempt to renounce all that is structured, often giving away what little they have in terms of material wealth and possessions. Some will often attempt to escape the busy suburban life by shifting to the country to be in the surrounds and stillness of nature. And whilst I'm all for living in nature, while this works for some, it is impractical for everybody to shift out of the cities and retreat to a more relaxed life in the country. In any case, there simply isn't enough space, nor would it be viable for everyone to live out in the country. And sometimes there is just as much stress living out there as there is living in the city. But what you can do is begin to live a more simple existence by changing the way you perceive and act in the world. That you do live, the world that you do live in. And you can make simple changes such as working from home instead of the office. Not working overtime all the time. Cutting extra after school activities. Checking your inbox only twice daily. Anything that you can cut down on which will make more time for you, really. The list is endless, and even if you do something less each week or each month, then your life will soon become simpler. But just remember, the more simple you make your life by doing these things, the healthier and happier you will become. So, do you live a simple life? Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to learn more about the other essential attributes of staying in your best shape. And until next time, watch what you chew, do what you need to do, and always live true.